Okay, y'all, so it's time for Once Upon a Christmas. Tonight's story, which is a feast of seasonal stories and poems, is going to be a poem first. If Mooses Were Gooses by John Bush and illustrated by Peter Weevers. And it's on page 66. I should have paper clipped it. And there's the moose. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dearie me, how I wish a moose could ski. The trouble when it snows and snow is we get stuck up to our noses. And oh, the effort to get out, the time it takes to move about. You can't just find a thing to chew. Oh, what is a poor moose to do? I wish, oh how I wish, we mooses could fly above the ground like gooses, because at times like this the truth is, wings and feathers have their uses. That was cute. And next we're going to do A Christmas Story by Pat Hutchins, The Silver Christmas Tree. Squirrel was busy decorating his tree for Christmas. He hung garlands of holly and ivy around the branches and bunches of bright red berries between the branches and the pine cones of the tips and the branches, and although it looked quite nice, it didn't look quite nice enough. So he hung strings of polished nuts on the tree, tied bunches around the mistletoe around the tree, and stuck dried heads of wheat into the pine cones on the tips of the branches, and although the tree looked nicer, it still didn't look nice enough. Here's the next picture. Squirrel worked so hard and so late it became too dark to see the tree at all. But at that very moment, right on the very top branch of the tree, a beautiful silver star appeared. The tree looked wonderful. Squirrel was delighted. He could show his lovely silver Christmas tree to his friends on Christmas Eve as a special present. Squirrel slept happily that night and didn't wake up until the sun was quite high in the sky. Then he raced down the tree to admire the silver star. But when he gazed up at the branches, and the lovely star had vanished, and his beautiful silver tree wasn't silver any more. Squirrel searched in the tree, around the tree, and under the tree, but he still couldn't find the silver star. So he went to ask his friend Duck if he'd seen it. His friend Duck was hiding a parcel in the rushes. Ah, thought Squirrel, my friend, Duck has found my star for me. Duck, he said, is that my star? You found it in the hidden rushes? Duck smiled. Aha, he said, you will have to wait until Christmas Eve to find out what is hidden in those rushes. So thought Squirrel sadly as he walked away, Duck has my star. On his way home he passed his friend Mouse, who was putting a parcel behind a stone wall, and ah, thought the Squirrel, I knew my good friend Duck wouldn't take my star. I see the Mouse has found it for me. Mouse, he said, is that my star you found hidden behind that stone wall? Aha! Mouse smiled. You must wait until Christmas Eve to find out what is hidden behind that stone wall. So thought Squirrel sadly as he walked away, Mouse has my star. Then he passed his friends of the Fox, who was tucking a parcel into his lair. Aha! Thought Squirrel, I knew my good friend Mouse wouldn't take my star. I see Fox has found it for me. Fox, he said, is that my star you're tucking into your lair? Aha! Fox smiled. You must wait until Christmas Eve to find out what is hidden in my lair. So thought the Squirrel sadly as he walked away, Fox has my star. But then the Squirrel saw his friend Rabbit, who was slipping a parcel down his burrow. Ah, thought the Squirrel, I know my good friend Fox wouldn't take my star. I see the Rabbit has found it for me. Rabbit, he said, is that my star you're slipping down your burrow? Aha! Rabbit smiled. You will have to wait until Christmas Eve to find out what is hidden in my bureau. So the Squirrel went home and waited. The next day, Rabbit, Fox, Mouse, and Duck arrived, "Happy Christmas, Squirrel!" shouted Rabbit, handing Squirrel a parcel. This must be the star, thought Squirrel, but it felt too soft to be a star, and it wasn't. It was a soft, fluffy blanket. "Thank you, Rabbit," said Squirrel sadly. "It will keep me nice and warm through the winter. It's the nicest blanket I ever had." "Happy Christmas, Squirrel," said Fox, handing Squirrel a parcel. Fox must have had the star after all, thought Squirrel, but it felt too long to be a star, and it wasn't. It was a long, silky duster. "Thank you, Fox," said Squirrel sadly. "It will do nicely for dusting my tree. It's the nicest duster I ever had." "Happy Christmas, Squirrel," said Mouse, handing Squirrel a parcel. So thought the Squirrel. It was a little mouse who had the star, but it too felt too round to be a star. And it wasn't. It was a little round corn cake. "Thank you, Mouse," said Squirrel sadly. "It's my favorite kind of cake and the nicest cake I've ever had." And the Duck handed Squirrel a parcel. "Ah," thought Squirrel happily, "this must be the star." But it felt too square to be a star. And it wasn't a star either. It was a square basket woven from rushes. "Thank you, Duck," said Squirrel sadly. "It will be very handy for storing my nuts, and it's the nicest basket I've ever seen." Then the Squirrel pointed to his tree. And there's my present to you," he said sadly, but it was nearly dark and his friends couldn't see anything. But then all the animals stared in wonder, and the soft snowflakes were falling from the sky as they fell, and the cloud parted. Climbing up to the top of the branch of the tree was a silver star, bigger, brighter, and more beautiful than ever. The glow from the tree lit up Squirrel's face. "Happy Christmas, everyone!" he whispered. "Happy Christmas!" And all his friends thought it was the nicest present of all. So tomorrow I hope to do 2 more stories with you out of Once Upon a Christmas Time. Probably they will be stories, no poems. I can't guarantee because it's a collection of stories and poems, but we'll have to see. And make sure you're keeping your social distance, wearing your mask, washing your hands, and always stay safe, stay well. God bless. We're getting closer and closer to Christmas, y'all. So you got to keep the eye on the prize and keep going.